And welcome back to the shop. Going through a quick description of one of the irons I have in the fire, and many irons. This is a restoration on, you can see the name there from through the glare. This is a Ronnberg flute. Ronnberg was one of the makers in New York City in the last quarter of the 19th century. He was a contemporary of Badger. I like to think that Ronnberg kind of is a little bit better quality than Badger, but just didn't have the production for people to really know his product this much. So we've got this all stripped down. Cocos wood flute. It's got low B, one of the very few low B cocos wood Ronnbergs I am aware of existing. So we'll go through the laundry list of what this needs. Primary thing, if I can find it, oh there it is. The open G sharp. Well, you can see that's kind of a shoddy repair. And what makes it worse, this is what the key should look like. And that's what they used. So they used a 20th century key. This looks an awfully lot like an Elkhart key, Armstrong Gemeinhart, something like that. That sort of profile. Impossible to tell, but it's a plated key. It's just not right for this application. So I have to make a new key from scratch. And everything related to that. I think this lever is original, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to do some research. But in the process of tearing this thing down, we've got typical places where the threaded stud to hold in the pad has been cut off or ground off or broken off or whatever. So I'll have to replace that one on a couple of keys. But I discovered on the trill key, both trill keys and the C key have a little nub in there, which suggests that there was this threaded stud in there. And if you look at the trill keys, these are absolutely massive. I've seen a few flutes like this from this time period. So there's definitely room for washers to hold the pads in place. The C key's a little bit smaller, but I think there's room there too. But I have to do some more research on that to find out what's going on. I've got my custom pads that I had Music Medic whip up to the specs of the pads that were in here. On the flute itself, up here at the ring, this was a spun silver ring that was all cracked along the edge. It was barely holding on. So I had to, gently take that off. That was spun in place. So the instrument was put on a lathe and that piece of metal was spun in place. I don't know if I'm going to do the same thing or if I'm going to machine something. There's a crack here that I have to repair. So by the time that crack's done, we'll have to see what's going on with the dimensions and everything, and that'll determine how I go at it. On the foot joint, it's missing the ring on the bottom, so I have to make a ring there. And on this end, thankfully that part is not missing, but only minorly, thankfully. Obviously a crack there. That's extremely common. This is the sleeve that goes in that tenon. That's usually the culprit for that crack. But on top of that crack is typically the ring for the end that has the post for the mechanism, the end post, and then the rest of the ring. And these had split apart. Some sort of fracture. I imagine the joints got stuck together and someone gave it a good turn and the ring turned and everything else stayed put. So either way, I'm going to have to make a new ring, extract the remnants of the ring from inside the ring, the sleeve, I should say. There's a thin segment of sleeve in there. Make a whole new sleeve that goes that whole length, and then fit the ring on top of it. On top of that, all the springs that are in here are wrong. Someone replaced them. I think there's maybe two original needle springs on the whole thing. Gonna have to figure out if I'm gonna go traditional on that or modern. And other than that, it's just a run-of-the-mill restoration of a flute. So, but back to work, otherwise I'll never get it done.